Okay, Lisa, we're trusting you. We're going with what you said. So we started last week, chapter 29. And we said in chapter 29, we're dealing with a new spiritual illness, meaning chapter 26, 27, and 28 all dealt with sadness. Sadness over our physical lives, sadness over spiritual conditions, sadness over being tempted to sin if we do or don't succumb. That was all the chapters of 26, 27, 28. And now 29 and 30, we're looking at a different problem. We're looking at the problem of being apathetic, not caring, being shut down, being indifferent, feeling cold. And for that, the Bible says, whoa, this is a very intense spiritual problem. Because once you stop caring, I mean, what's left? You know, once you feel cold, what's left? So we're going to have 3 solutions, we said. 2 in chapter 29. The bulk of chapter 29 is one solution, and then the end of it is a second. And then the third solution, the third strategy, is the entire chapter 30. So what we were saying was, so if a person feels like they don't care, what should they do? And I remember we asked that question. Someone was like, well, do more, you know, add more godliness, add more light. Using the metaphor the Rebbe is bringing here, pour more oil on the wood for it to catch fire. We said it doesn't work that way. You have this big, thick wood that's not catching fire, pouring more and more lighter fluid isn't going to make it catch fire. You need to chop it up a little and then it can catch the fire. And that's what we were told. They say in the yeshiva in Shemayim, the yeshiva in heaven, yeshiva in Gan Eden, that just as this wood, if it doesn't catch fire, you have to smash it. And then it can catch the fire. Also ourselves, if we're not igniting, we also need to have that brokenness in us. And when we're in this space of brokenness, that's when we will also be able to ignite and catch fire. So that is, in essence, this first strategy. The first cure for apathy is to break oneself emotionally. So if we look at what it says here, okay, I don't remember exactly how far I got. So I do think I was saying the verse. Yes, I do. That there is this verse in Tehillim, in Psalms, Lev nishbar ruch nishbara, a broken heart, a broken spirit. And if you break your heart emotionally, you can break the spirit of evil, the spirit of the negative other side that's lodged in your heart. And that's why the Rebbe is now going to give us different things to think about to emotionally break us. Now, again, obviously, this is not something we want to do to ourselves. We don't want to emotionally smash ourselves down. But because this is like a very difficult situation, this is very, very serious illness. So we need what's a pretty tough cure. In other words, we can envision it like, I think of it like chemotherapy, you know. Chemotherapy is not something you do to help, you know, like that's not what you want to have going on in your body. But sometimes it has to be the cure for something that would otherwise be worse. So it wouldn't be our normal go-to, oh yes, I think I want to emotionally break myself. That's probably going to help me. No. We want to be very careful bashing ourselves to remove the evil. It's very easy to get stuck in that negative space. We need to get out right away. It's not a good space to be in. But sometimes it's necessary. It's like that chemo. It has side effects. We don't love the side effects, but this disease is so strong. This is how we have to combat it. So that is, I believe, exactly what we're up to. So the Rebbe explained, because shehihi adam atzmo bebeinonim, that in a regular person, our evil energies are not godly energies, like our animal soul or evil inclination, are very fused with the person. In other words, I want to break myself. I don't want to break myself at all. I want to break the evil. I want to break myself. I don't want to break myself. That doesn't make any sense. That's not good. We don't want to break things. It's not a very Hasidic approach. It's not. And we don't want to break things. But sorry, I'm trying to get this distracting light out of the way. It's not, and we don't want to break things. But sometimes we have no choice. Because what we do want to break, what we would like to really smash to pieces, is our evil inclination, is the animal soul. But how do I touch an animal soul to get it and smash it, to break it? How do I break an animal soul? How do I break an evil inclination? I can't touch them. I don't know where. I know where they are officially in the left side of my heart. What do I do about it? So they're saying, oh, that's the point. You don't want to break yourself. You want to break your animal soul and your evil inclination. But how do you touch your animal soul and your evil inclination? But in a regular person, good, bad news, the energies of evil and the energy of the person are very fused. So when you emotionally break your heart, you are breaking the spirit of evil that's lodged in your heart, because it's so fused with you. It's become like one entity. So again, a person has to be very, very careful doing anything that's harsh, anything that's destructive, even in this type of situation. But there's a reason behind it. We're saying, because how else am I supposed to get to this animal soul and evil inclination and smash their grip on me, which has become so suffocating? It's so taken away my life, my oxygen. It's brought me to the place where I don't even care. If I'm in such a dangerous situation, I have to take dangerous measures. I have to start breaking things. So as the Rebbe continues, that the animal soul, the vital soul that gives life to the body, is as strong as when the person was born. Belibo, in his heart. Nimtza, so it comes out that this is the person himself, meaning when we're born with animal energy, with godly energy. And the animal energy that's lodged in the left side of our heart, day by day by day, as we use it, we expand it and expand it and expand it. Each time we're not in the godly space, we're in that animal space, we're giving more and more energy to the animal side. So it's becoming more and more fused with the I of the person. So at this point, the Rebbe is saying, you and your animal energy, whoa, are they connected? Are they one? Well, maybe it didn't start out that way 10, 20, 50, 70 years ago, but you've allowed it to grow and grow and like grow on you and grow on you and grow on you and become you, which is not a good thing. But in this case, we're utilizing that fact and saying, therefore, if you want to get to the animal, get to your own heart, and we're going to get to the animal as well. Well, now we're talking about the godly soul. Ne'emar, it says, and this is what we say in our prayers every morning, in our morning blessings, Neshama shnasata bi tahirahi. Rabbi found a very interesting proof for his point. Every morning we say in our morning prayers, it's like in the first paragraph we say in the morning, the soul that you gave to me, she is pure. So they were saying, if we say the soul that you gave to me, she is pure, that implies that I'm not that soul. There's a me, there's an I, and there's a soul that you gave to me. So what's the me? What's the I? What's the persona of this individual? Well, himself, wrapped up in his animal. And then there's this soul that you gifted us with, like something extra. And of course, this is true because this is our prayers. And obviously, if our sages said this and phrased it this way, there's a truth to this. But at the same time, it's not the ultimate truth of our existence. Even as I'm proving this point to you, I want you to know, no, because you're saying, wait a minute, this goes against everything you always tell us in Tanya, which is true. The real I of the person is their soul. That's what you are. That's what I am. That's what every Jew is. Every one of us, in essence, is a godly soul in a body. So the appendage is really the body. The I is really the godly soul. That's the real truth of our existence. It's the truth of every one of our existences. But on a working reality, very often in our world, we get more and more and more in this animal, natural, physical space. So that becomes what I view as the me, the I, the person. And the soul is like, oh, this extra special holy thing that I happen to have. But again, the truth is, no, we really are our soul. Has anyone had a time they can remember when it really felt that way? When they really felt their I was just godliness? Anyone can remember an experience when, because that's the real truth, that's the deeper truth, when you really experience yourself as an neshama, as a soul. Anyone can remember having such an experience? I'm not guaranteeing you had it, but I do feel it's very possible you had it. Of course, then you have to remember it. But you really experience yourself as what you really are, as a godly entity.
Hi, it's Lisa.
Hi, Lisa.
I'm not sure if this is exactly it, but based on what you're saying, it sure felt like it at the time. I was actually at a fair outside, and I saw a girl that I knew who was going through many different levels of nursing school. And she was almost completely finished. And I saw her, so I went over to her and say hi. And she was so distraught. And she said, I've been studying all day and I just don't know if I can do this. I just feel like I'm just stepped in way over my head. And I don't know what exactly happened, but something inside of me forced me to say a lot of words to her of encouragement and positivity, that I could actually feel my body physically shaking as these words were coming out of my mouth. And she was listening and taking it all in. And I could tell that it was impacting her to the point where it may have been even too much and maybe even a little overwhelming. But I just encouraged her and ended the conversation. But when I walked away, I felt, wow, that was so powerful. I really feel like God put me in her path at that moment to help her. And I felt so good and enriched and, goosebumpy all over, and just, so I don't know if that's exactly what you're talking about, but
I
that was
definitely will take it. I'll take that example. I think it's beautiful. And I think it definitely is one of the many different ways a person really has that experience of like, that wasn't me almost. That was my soul. That was God talking through me, because that is really my real reality. And that's amazing. That happened. Yeah, it's unfair, where like you're saying, God, it's like a very humbling moment almost, when you're like, wow, God, I just merited that you used me to be your mouthpiece.
It was so beautifully juicy. It was a very major moment for me.
I can totally feel it. Someone else, and it could be in a very, very different way. Someone else had an experience when they really felt their I was their soul at that moment. It could be a very spiritually inspired moment, like Ne'ilah of Yom Kippur, when it just feels like your whole reality is godliness. Or it could be a very mundane moment, like Lisa's saying, out at a country fair. But that wasn't her. That was the godliness. That was the I, the dominant force. Someone else can have a time that they've experienced that? That they remember they could share?
I think being by the Rebbe. If you've ever been by the Rebbe, you don't feel yourself anymore. You only feel your godliness, because that's what the Rebbe kind of, that's what he does. He just ignites your soul. So you're by a great tzaddik. All you feel is your godly soul.
Yeah, absolutely. Nice. Appropriate to today's energy thought is, yes, when you're by the Rebbe, you're right. What's ignited is that real I, the soul, and that's what you're feeling. That's your reality. Absolutely. Anyone else have a time when they really felt this I of the soul, like talking through them?
Sometimes just on a regular Shabbos in a shul, I am like crying, praying and crying, and I feel something very powerful inside.
It's so interesting you say that, Rachel, because I've often thought to myself, my neshama is such a crier. When I also, so many times I feel my neshama so strongly, and I'm always crying in those moments. I'm always like, my neshama just is, this is her energy, I'm not saying it's every soul's energy, but mine always seems to be expressed in tears. Not unhappy, just tears, a lot of intense emotion. And that is beautiful that you're saying it's true. It could be a regular Shabbos, so to speak. What Shabbos is regular? We're going to call regular Shabbos in shul, and then like, wow, what somehow it ignites, like Firma said before, when you're in front of the Rebbe and your soul is just ignited and you just feel it. And sometimes it could be a regular day and someone says something and suddenly you just feel this overwhelming intensity, like saying shul on Shabbos, and you just feel that intensity. I agree with you.
Right.
And it's a very powerful, special feeling. And it's amazing how just so naturally, and I'm sure more people have more experiences, but we really do feel this. If it's like Lisa's example, just God sort of using us as the tool to help someone else. So there's our soul energy out there, or very exalted spiritual moments like Yom Kippur, like by the Rebbe, or regular Shabbos and Shul, and like suddenly it's out, it's on the surface, and you feel its intensity. So all that is because that is our I. Our truest, deepest I is a soul. And that is true for every single one of us. For every Jew, the I of the Jew is a soul. So I'm saying all that while I'm teaching what the Alter Rebbe is writing here, because I don't want to misconstrue it. Of course, the deepest aspect of self for every one of us is our soul. And that's what we've been discussing since the beginning of Tanya. What are you? You're a walking piece of God. You're Hashem's only child. You're a piece of his very essence and being. Oh, that's absolutely true. But the little disclaimer, but here is on a working reality, since every single moment in your life, there's a choice. And the choice is to express the godly or to express the animal every single second of our existence. And every time we express either one, it's strengthening them. So the godly soul is me. But every single time I make a choice, a default choice or a choice to express the animal, that strengthens its grip, and it gets like very interwoven with my sense of self, to the degree that our sages say as truth in our prayers every single day. We say this, one of the most foundational prayers, thanking God for giving us back our life. The soul that you gave to me, she is pure. Because there's a level of my working reality where the me, that's the person, that's the animal. And then there's this extra godly energy called the soul, sort of outside the me reality. But I want to emphasize, that's why we're doing this, that underneath that is the truth, that the complete and total I of every single one of us is our soul. That's parenthetical, but I'm very important parentheses, because I don't want that to get misconstrued in this discussion. But now we're saying, hey, there's an advantage that your animal soul has gotten interwoven in your heart. Because then if you want to touch the animal, go through your heart. And that's why King David said in Psalms, a broken heart, a broken spirit. If you break the heart, you break that which is embedded within the heart, which is the spirit of evil. Bidaika, specifically, the wording there's a soul you gave to me. Michlal, from which we derive. But the person himself is not the pure godly soul. That's something added to the I, the persona. But as I'm saying, but the real truth is you are your soul. And where do we see this real truth manifest? By the absolutely pure, by the absolutely godly, by the absolute righteous. Because for the tzaddik, the absolutely godly individual, there's no other alternative layers. It's just the raw absolute truth. He is a godly soul. And I was going to give you a very interesting example from the Gemara to prove this point. By the absolutely perfectly righteous, godly individuals, the tzaddik, it's the opposite. That the pure soul, the godly soul, this is the person. The gufam nikra bisar adam. And the body is called the flesh of man, not the man, just his flesh, the appendage to the soul, as we see. Like the saying of Hillel the elder to his students. When he went to eat, very, very powerful example here. He would say, he's going to do a favor, to be kind to some poor, unfortunate, miserable creature. Ugufo. He meant his body. Because he literally viewed it as a stranger, as another. And therefore he said with complete sincerity, that he's being nice, he's doing a favor with someone else when he feeds his body and he eats. Because what's him? Who's Hillel Hazakeh? That's a godly soul. So the story behind this concept in the Gemara is a very interesting story. Is that Hillel the elder, one of the greatest, most godly sages we ever had. So of course, he would always be teaching his students. And it happened that he said, oh, he has to go, he has to leave, he has to go do a favor for a poor unfortunate. Okay. It's happened another day. Maybe it was the third day when the students were like, wow, who's he going to help? Who every day is meriting to get the assistance from Hillel Hazakeh? And they followed him. And when they followed him, either, as the Alter Rebbe says, they saw him eating, or there's another version, they saw him bathing. And they were like, whoa, our master, Hillel. What's going on? Where's the poor unfortunate that you're helping? And he's like, this is it, right here. With complete sincerity. Absolute, genuine sense of, I am now doing a favor for this unfortunate, for this body that needs my help because it needs food in its tank. It needs bathing. It needs to be clean. Well, what do you mean that you're doing a favor for someone else? This is yourself. Really? I don't know. Because Hillel Hazakeh was so one with his soul, so one with God, that his body almost was like a separate reality. But he has to take care of it. And taking care of a body, it has to be fed, it has to be bathed, it has to be dressed. Yeah, you got to take care of it. So he was being being a mensch, being a good Jewish person, and helping, doing kindness with his own body. And that's the real truth. Meaning, when we think we are our body and think we are our animal soul, it's a true thought we have, but it's only a working reality. The true reality is, no, I'm a godly soul. That's what the I of me is. That's what I am. That's what a Jew is, a godly entity. So Hillel was living on the true level. And I guess we're going to soon experience that by Mashiach, by the redemption, when we'll all live on that level of knowing our reality is our soul. And that energy, that beautiful energy that we sometimes feel, that Lisa experienced, that Firma spoke about, that Rachel spoke about, that will be our regular reality, because that's really what we all are. But we've got, distracted, caught up in this illusion of other selves as if that's the real me. And the tzaddik isn't fooled. The tzaddik knows none of that's him. His real self, his identity is his godly soul. Everything else is an appendage, something he's in this world to take care of. Sorry, I just lost my place. Because he, Hillel HaZaken, is the godly soul. Because that's what's giving life to the body, is the godly soul. Because in a purely godly person, the evil of the animal has been transformed to be part of the godly reality. And is comprised in the holiness of the godly soul, literally by tzaddikim. In other words, what the Rebbe is saying is, a little bit of background to make this clear. Every single Jew has two souls, a godly soul and an animal soul. And every single Jew has also an evil inclination, besides those rare people that are born on the level of the absolute righteous. But we're talking about everyone else in the world. 99.99999% of all Jews. Godly soul, animal soul, evil inclination. The godly soul's energy is godliness, intense godliness, the highest godliness in the world. The core of my reality is God's core. That's only true for a Jewish soul. Nothing else has that besides a Jewish soul. But then we also have this body, which comes from the level we call klipas noiga, this sort of admixture of godliness and evil, could be elevated, could fall. And then we have our animal soul, which is also part of that klipas noiga admixture of godliness and evil, could be elevated, could fall. And then we have an evil inclination that's pure evil, no admixture, it's pure evil. It is fallen. So for most of us, most of the time, there's a body, and then there's these two forces, the godly soul, godliness, and the animal soul controlled by the evil inclination, klipas noiga and klipas tameos, this admixture of godliness and evil and this absolute evil that are every single second shifting in their control of the person. Both want absolute control, total ruling the reality of this person, this kingdom of yourself. And every single time the godly soul is in charge, right now, you're learning Torah, your mind's hopefully out for all of these thoughts, your whole being is focused on this godly energy, your godly soul is the master. But then if you slip into a negative space for that second, the negative side's the master. And then you regain control. And then you lose it. The story of our life. But not by a tzaddik. What happens by the tzaddik? By the absolutely purely righteous. By the tzaddik, their love of God is so intense, that their hatred of evil is so intense, that they literally despise it out of existence. They literally withdraw any life from it, because everything is being given life by godliness. Meaning in our lives, what gives us life? Our body. What gives our body life? Our animal soul. So our animal soul is what gives life to the body. But what gives our animal soul life to give life to the body? Our godly soul. So from the godly soul, through the animal soul, to the body, to our existence. So in the absolutely godly, their love of God is so great, and therefore their hatred of evil is so great, and therefore they do not give it life. They withdraw life from it by their despising of it, and it withers, and bit by bit dies. So in the absolutely righteous, that evil inclination, which is pure evil, bit by bit by bit is destroyed, is destroyed, is destroyed. The more they love God, the more they hate and despise evil, the more that evil inclination just shrivels away. because they're not giving it any energy. We energize our evil. We really do. If you're not going to energize it, it's not going to be there, bit by bit by bit, until it's completely gone. When it's completely gone, now what's left? Well, we have this godly soul, pure godliness, and we have this animal soul, a mixture of godliness and evil. But no, because the animal soul is an animal. It needs a master. So the de facto master of our animal soul is our evil inclination. That's the riding the horse of the animal soul. But if the evil inclination is gone, suddenly this is a masterless animal. It goes to the new master. It goes to the godly soul as its master. So what happens is at that moment when the evil energy is destroyed, when the evil inclination is just withdrawn, its vitality, hated, despised, out of existence, withered away. So now all the animal is under the godly energy. It's the animal now ridden by, mastered by the godly soul. So is there an animal soul? Absolutely. But the animal soul is purely godly at this moment. No more admixture. It became part of the energy of the godly soul. So in the absolutely righteous, in the purely godly, like Hillel, Hazaken, like Hillel the elder, he's got a godly soul. And he's got an animal soul, which is godly. And he's got a body. So that body is the appendage of all this godly energy. And that will truly be every one of our realities by Mashiach. For every single one of us here, the evil inclination will be gone. God is removing evil out of existence. Done. No more evil. So what's left? Well, my godly reality and my animal. But my animal at that moment, just like by this pure tzaddik, will become within the reality of the godly soul, because it's an animal. It can't be masterless. If it's not ruled by the evil, it's ruled by the godly. And therefore, we will all feel every single moment like those high moments we remember when our only reality is godliness. Now, the truth is, the Lubavitcher Rebbe has a very interesting Hasidic discourse in which he explains that every single one of us at some moment in our life has experienced that. So even though I only had like 3 people volunteer, of course, I cut it at that point. Maybe more people had times they were going to share. But every single person here, if you remember or not, at some point experienced this. Your only reality was godliness. It probably felt amazing, overwhelming, intense, so high, so pure. And the Rebbe says that has to be the existence of every Jew, that there's moments when they feel this. By Mashiach, we're going to feel this every second. And the tzaddik feels this every second because his evil inclination is gone. His animal is under the control of his godly. So his constant working reality is pure godly soul. So what's the body? The appendage he was given to be kind to refine, to work through, to elevate up to God. But that is for the moment only true of the absolutely pure tzaddikim, meaning we will all experience that every second when we have the complete redemption. We all have experienced flashes of that. Maybe you don't remember, maybe you do remember, maybe what Rachel and Lisa and from a shared jog something in your memory. Flashes, we've experienced it sporadically, probably rarely. Because by us, our working reality is the evil inclination / animal soul / body dynamic trio that seems to be our life.
So I would just like to say something, and I'm in the Grand Canyon picture. I worked right over there at the North Rim. Can you see my picture over there, my background?
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, so to me, it seems like what is goodly godly is to have the desire to receive in order to share. And that would be like the, evil would be the desire just to receive for oneself alone. Does that make sense?
Yeah, because evil Evil definitely is this energy of feed me, feed me, feed me. We've had this previously in Tanya, this idea that evil is embodied by this idea of take, 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 mine, 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 grab, grab, grab. Yes, so it definitely makes sense what you're saying. Absolutely.
Okay, good.
Absolutely.
Because I worked through that for 30 years.
You're right. You're
The law of
absolutely-
similar.
You're absolutely right. About the Benoni, but with the Benoni, the regular person, of course, the Benoni, oh wow, if only it was a Benoni, it's a really godly person. Yeah, but he's still called regular because he still has the evil inclination. His animal soul is still under the mastery of the evil inclination. So from that perspective, me and the Benoni are exactly the same. Since by him, the essence and being of his animal soul that's engarbed in his blood did not yet get transformed to godly. It will. By Mashiach, it will for all of us. But even the Benoni, who is quite holy, he still didn't destroy his evil inclination. His animal soul is still under it. It's still not transformed to the godly reality we've experienced sporadically, and we will all experience by Mashiach. Hooray, he Adam Atzmo. And therefore, that becomes our working reality. That's the good partner of our heart and our bodily energies. The im kain, and if so, wow, are you far from God? Because this power of desiring in the animal soul could desire things absolutely forbidden. The antithesis of God's will. God forbid you're not really desiring to actually do them, you're just sort of like fantasizing about them. But they're not disgusting to you, despicable to you, but MS consistently, absolutely in truth. Kibbutz tzaddikim, like is the reality of the tzaddik, of the absolute pure godly person, as is explained above in chapter 12. So what the Rebbe is doing here is we sort of slid into the first of the 5 thoughts the Rebbe is going to give us in this first strategy. We said there are 3 strategies, 3 approaches to get rid of this apathy, don't care, shut down, cold state. The first approach we're saying is emotionally break your heart, emotionally crush yourself, as is the advice in the yeshiva, in the rabbinical school above in heavens. Because if we emotionally crush our heart, we're crushing the evil that's embedded in our heart. How do I touch the evil? I can touch my heart. If I touch my heart, I'm touching the evil. And there we just spent this long time that we're discussing to explain to us, yes, your true reality is your godly soul. But your working reality at this moment is your animal soul, evil inclination, heart admixture. So if you crush your heart, you're crushing all 3. So how do I crush my heart? So the Rebbe is now going to give us 5 different thoughts to think, to humble us, to crush us, to make us feel low, make us feel broken. Now, you can feel absolutely free to devise your own. Meaning, you could say, this doesn't resonate with me, this doesn't relate to me. And that could be true. I mean, maybe it doesn't. Possibly it does, because what the Alter Rebbe is writing is for all of us. But possibly it doesn't. But that's okay. Once you understand the theory behind it, you could devise your own statements on what you think about to realize your lowliness, to realize your, humanity and the negative elements of your humanity, and to focus on them. Because why do we have to do this? Because hopefully we're all healthy people. And being healthy, we have a lot of self-love that covers up all our flaws. That's okay. That's a healthy person feels good in themselves. We want you to feel good in yourself. But that also means that any flaws you have, you just don't really process, or you don't process as flaws. Either, oh, that's a cute little idiosyncrasy of mine, or that's an endearing trait of mine, or that's normal, or everyone does it, or whatever we tell ourselves. So the Rebbe has to say, let's put all that garbage on the side. Let's look at you with a magnifying glass. We're pulling out our magnifying glass to scrutinize, to really see where's that speck of black. Let me highlight it. Let me magnify it. Let me focus only on it. Because I want you to see the black in you. I want you to feel crushed and broken. Now you can say, whoa, I don't need to pull out a magnifying glass. You know, I can come up with a lot of things to think about. If I need to think of how my flaws and my weaknesses, I don't need no magnifying glass. But the Rebbe is talking to a Benoni, as he's already mentioned several times. Let's remind ourselves, a Benoni is absolutely perfect. They never do anything wrong. They never say anything wrong. They never think anything wrong. No conscious thought is ever thought that's wrong. That's not God's will. Well, so why aren't they a tzaddik? Because they haven't been able to destroy the evil inside of them. Again, the intensity of your love for God, the intensity of your hatred and despising evil, your ability to destroy it. So the Benoni, his absolute, of course he loves God, but the intensity of loving God is not strong enough to create that intensity of hatred of evil to destroy it. So he still has a total, whole, non-minimized evil inclination and animal soul under it. Just like me. The difference is he doesn't listen to this. But as such, if I want to take this Benoni, who has not yet sinned, even though he's fallen under this illness called Timtum Halev, this illness of apathy, but he still hasn't sinned. He just, like if you remember we said at the beginning, he's not praying as incredibly devoutly. He's not refining himself within the permissible. He still hasn't done anything wrong, an overt transgression. So he's still a Benoni, even though he has this illness of indifference, of apathy, of I don't care. He hasn't yet lost his Benoni stature. Now, of course, if this continues, he will, because it's hard to stay perfect and never transgress when you don't care that much. So obviously the whole thing's going to crumble and fall apart if he doesn't deal with this very quickly. But at this moment, he's still Benoni, which means he's absolutely perfect. He doesn't sin at all, not in his thought, not in his speech, not in his deed. So as such, how are we going to break him? How is he going to feel emotionally broken and low and flawed? He's perfect. So that's why, you know, the observers take out this magnifying glass to look and look and look and magnify whatever specks he can find. And that's why I'm saying for us, it might not be such a difficult assignment. We might not need a magnifying glass. We might come up with 10, 15, 20 thoughts to think about if we need to remember our broken state. But we're talking here to a very godly person who has this very severe illness. And that's why we're pulling out the magnifying glass, and you're going to see each thought of the 5 is getting progressively more and more subtle and refined. But are all points we can pick at to say, you're not as 100% holy as you thought. That's grounds for emotionally feeling very, very broken. Good. That's the point. When you emotionally feel broken, the spirit of evil inside of you is being broken. And that's why we're doing this. Not fun medicine, but it's a severe illness, so it needs a cure, even if it's a very harsh cure.
Oh, boy.
So in this first thought that we're thinking, this first of the 5 thoughts within this strategy, what are we saying to ourselves to make our feels broken? Wow, I'm human. I still have my evil inclination, and I could desire anything. Things that God despises, I could desire, I could want. Now, I'm not doing any of it. I'm not thinking it. I'm not saying it. I'm not doing it because I'm a Benoni. And the Benoni doesn't do anything wrong. But in my level of desire, I'm attracted to something else besides God. And that's the point of being broken. It's like disloyalty. If you could imagine if a woman, a married woman, sees another man and she starts thinking about him. She doesn't do anything. She doesn't look at him. She doesn't do anything flirtatious. She's no way, not only is no one, not him, not anyone else is even aware of this. But on a certain inner level, she's being very disloyal to her husband because she's attracted to someone else. So we are all married, bound up in a relationship with God. And when we're attracted to everything or anything he forbids, that's that disloyalty. Again, you're not doing anything about it. I mean, the man is not sinning. Well, you might sin. He's not sinning. But the attraction is still there. And the Alter Rebbe says, as we focus on that you're attracted to that which God despises, to that which God forbids, to that which God hates, that's already enough to crush you. That's enough to make you feel very, very, very broken. And with this, he's so low. He's lower than the low, lower than the insects of this world, lower than the impurities of this world. Look at Moshe Kassuv, as it's written, as King David said in Psalms, but I'm like a worm, not a man. Again, King David was a tzaddik. He didn't have these desires. But speaking for the Jewish people who do, he's like, when I'm in this state, I'm subhuman. I'm like the worm. And for a man to be worm is worse than for a worm to be a worm, because that's why God created it. Okay, there are worms in this world. But for a human to lose his stature as a human and be a worm, wow, that's how low I am at this moment. And even when sporadically his godly soul awakens in him, to feel that intense love for God. For example, when he's praying and he feels so strongly his soul and his love, that's not absolutely true. Completely. Because it passes after he finishes praying, goes away. As we learn at the end of chapter 13. So it's very interesting. What the Rebbe did here in this parentheses is saying exactly the opposite of what he told us in the end of chapter 13. What the Rebbe is referring to is, for a regular person, a Beinoni, a very holy person, but still not a tzaddik, he still didn't destroy his evil, he could have sort of a subdued, quiet love for God all day, but then a very intense one when he prays. Because then we're in a very spiritual space, a very spiritual moment, like Rachel was saying, Shabbos and Shul. So in general, when you pray, it's a very spiritual time. Now, in chapter 13, we're saying, wait a minute. So on a regular basis, I feel sort of this subdued love for God. But like when I pray, let's say every morning, my morning prayers, I really feel my love for God. True or not true? Is that a true experience or a false experience? A true love or a false love? I'm not sure, because in the Hasidic jargon, for something to be true, it has to be consistent. It has to always be experienced. So if I experience it every morning when I pray, but not the rest of the day, I don't know if that's true or not. Maybe it's not true because I'm only experiencing when I pray. The Alter Rebbe says, it's true. Trust me, it's true. Why is it true? Because, and the Rebbe gave them two reasons. One, you experience consistently. Every single morning when you pray, you experience it. So that's constant. And you're at your max. Every one of us, again, we all have to keep all of God's rules. 613 biblical, thousands of rabbinic. None of us are off the hook to say, I'm not up to that. We all got to keep all of that. But when we talk about the realm of loving and fearing God, every one of us has to love and fear God, but every one of us has a different ability how much we can love and fear God. And if you once a day can have this intense, overwhelming love and fear of God, and the rest of the day have a quieter love and fear of God, guess what? That's your point to truth. That's you at your spiritual max. You are true. Amazing. It's happening consistently every single day, and you're at your spiritual max. This is your point to truth. You are serving God truly. That's what the Rebbe told us at the end of chapter 13. Now we're in chapter 29. And the Rebbe wants us to feel broken. And again, as I said, I mean, for me, it's not so hard. There's plenty of things I could think about. But for Benoni, it's a little bit challenging because what's he supposed to be broken about? He's not sinning. He's not doing anything wrong. So therefore, the Alter Rebbe is picking on these very refined points and saying, you know, the fact that you only love God this way every morning and not the rest of the day, that already shows a lack of truth. In chapter 13, you told me I'm true. I know, but now I'm shifting the focus because I want you to feel broken. You want me to feel broken? I don't want you to feel broken. I want you to be whole and healthy and be alive and excited and warm and vibrant in your relationship with God. So I want you to heal. And to heal, this is a tough medicine you have to go through. So we're going to stop at this point, and we obviously won't meet next week because it's Passover. So we'll continue after that. This is not such bad timing because, of course, Passover is the idea of liberation, of freedom. And sometimes we need to reflect on that broken space. There's a lot of different things we have actually in our Seder that sort of reminds us of that, like the maror, when we eat the bitter herbs. It's to feel that brokenness. And remember, it's all about God. When we break the middle matzah, to remind ourselves of our broken state, of our fragmented self, of those parts that are not whole. All of that is to help us achieve freedom. To say, wait, if I do have that part of me that's broken, that's fragmented, that's lacking, this is all part of my journey to God, that I'm sometimes enslaved by some things. But it's Passover. I can choose to be free. I want to be free. I want to subjugate myself to God and forget all the other slaveries, all the other enslavements of this world. So this broken state, which again is not normally what you're going to be reading about in Tanya, it's not normally our focus and approach and what we, talk about a lot, but putting it in perspective is really part of our journey to freedom, is sort of recognizing that we're sometimes stuck and then keep it moving. Recognizing our limitations and saying, but we could change. We don't have to be slaves to all the stuff of the world. We want to be God's people. And that's the journey of Passover. And that's what we're all going to experience as we go through Passover, as we eat our shmura matzah, and we eat godliness, we eat belief in God, we eat humility, and we get closer and closer to that aspiration, which we then try to transform to every moment of our life. So does someone have something they would like to share? Something that happened to them this past week that they'd like to thank God for?
I'd like to say something.
Sure. For some reason, you're very quiet. I don't know if it's me. No, I'm at 100%. Sarah, could you
We can't hear her.
maybe raise your mic's volume?
Is that, oh, wait, hold on.
You have to put it all the way. By me, it's,
Hello?
I don't hear you. Raise the volume of your mic.
I did.
Are you on a laptop or a phone?
I'm on a phone.
Oh, so then just raise the volume all the way to 100%.
I did, and it doesn't go any higher.
Okay, so we're going to listen very carefully.
Okay, I'm sorry. I actually, I'm in Montreal. We arrived a few hours ago, but
Oh, wow.
Today I really wanted to do Mivtzayim in the worst way. So it just, Hashem made it happen for me in that, I told Eliyahu, I just want to stop in a dollar store because they're different than in Chicago. So I went to stop in a dollar store, and I'm not supposed to walk that much, so I don't. But I have this funny shoe that I wear if people saw me with it. So I'm in an aisle, and a woman says, "How are you making Passover with such with a broken foot?"
Okay, there's a Jew there.
I said, "It's just a toe." And then I said, are you going or making any seders? So she says, "I'm going to a cousin the first night, and the second night to a daughter." And I said, "Do you have do you have shmura matzah? And she said, I have matzah. What's the difference? So I said, this is really special matzah. It's watched from when they cut the wheat, and it's handmade and round. And I really want to give you some because I have some in my car. And I called Eliyahu, he pulled the car up, and I felt so connected with Hashem and the Rebbe that I was flying. I just felt so good that I had this opportunity just came to me. And because she probably wouldn't have said anything, but I'm wearing this funny shoe. So maybe this is the whole reason why my foot is taking so long to get better.
Wow, that's a beautiful twist on it. That's a beautiful take. God, everything is precise. And okay, this was the reason. So now we're done with the reason, so we can just have the healing. When you eat the matzah on the second night of Pesach, the say there, that matzah is the matzah of healing. You could have this in mind.
No, I know, but I was just so glad on the Rebbe's birthday, and I took on some different things that I want to write in once a month at least. And I wrote in before we left, and I'm just feeling B'li and Hara different. The Rebbe
Baruch
does it
Hashem.
for us,
I know exactly what you mean. It's like, it's such a holy, special day, and like you want to utilize it, and like you're stuck doing lots of other things that you got to do if you're traveling or cleaning or cooking or koshering, and it's like, but it's such a holy day. So I totally empathize and had the same feeling. I didn't have the same story that you have, but I had the same feeling. I'm glad Hashem felt your desire and made it happen for you.
And I wish everybody a kosher and a freilich Pesach, and we should all meet together, and all the little kindlech should play with the shepselach before they turn into Korban Pesach and Korbanais and everything.
Amen.
And we're ready.
We're ready. Amen.
yeah,
Listen, Hashem.
we're really
Tuesday
ready.
night, you can still pull it off. We're ready.
So I'm gonna say good night.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that, Sarah. It was so beautiful.
Okay.
I know it's late, and I know it's like the eve of Passover, because it's Tuesday night and that's Friday night, so it's really close. But does someone have something else they would like to share? Something else that happened that they really felt grateful, or Yud Aleph Nissen thought, something they would like to share?
Did you share any Yud Aleph Nissen thoughts?
No, you did actually before. I didn't, but I actually had not exactly as successful as Sarah. But again, the Hashgacha Pratis, I was also feeling today very strongly exactly what Sarah was saying. Like, it's, this, and I wanted, I was working very busy, but not doing any of those overt special, Nissen stuff. And I was driving to Springfield, and I again, it's not a very dramatic anything story. My car needed, as I'm driving, I saw it was slow yesterday. I filled it with air. It shrank again today. I'm like, I think I got to deal with something before I go on the highway with this for a few hours. So I drove to a place where they quickly patched it, and my husband happened to call me then, and oh yeah, you're right across, there's a police station, and there's a Jewish officer that goes on duty at 2 o'clock. This was like 2:30. I'm like, all right, beautiful. Normally I'd be like, oh my gosh, I am so late. And I was supposed to leave hours ago. I was like, no, this is perfect. It's Nissen. I'm so happy. So we swing across to the police station, and my son and daughter go in, and the cop's not there, but they left matzah for him. I'm like, okay, you know what? Thank you, Hashem. We did our part. It's Nissen. If it was not Nissen, I would not have taken those extra moments, but I did. And then I said to myself in the car, I said, I have to do something for Nissen. What am I going to do today? I thought of a few things. I'm like, but I would do that anyway. That's not special. That's not extra. I said, we're going to have a Fabrengen in the car. I'm going to have a captive audience of my children. Few hours, captive audience. We're going to Fabrengen. It's Nissen. So I tried. Was it glorious? And I don't know, but I know I tried. And maybe that's sort of part of the theme that we could think of for Yud Aleph Nissen, a thought, we're trying. God, Hashem, are we absolutely perfect and doing all this stellar, amazing, turning over worlds things? Maybe sometimes, like Lisa and Rachel shared before, there's those moments. And then there's a lot of other moments. But you know what, Hashem, we're really trying. And that's sort of like in the Seder. You know, we have 15 steps of the Seder. And the last step is we say, God, the last step is Nirtza. What is Nirtza? Nirtza is we say next year in Jerusalem, which means we're saying, God, we just went through this whole Seder. We did our part. We walked the walk. We talked the talk. We ate the matzah. We ate the maror. We ate the sandwich. We had the meal. We had more matzah. We thought all of these spiritual intentions. We strove and strove and strove for freedom. And God, now you're going to do it. We did our end. God, you're going to do your end. It's interesting because my daughter today in the car, you know, if this isn't for bringing was saying that she was sort of feeling like, what? You know, missing 120 years, was she else not here yet? Like, where do we go from here? And I was feeling like, you know what, Hashem, you should look at us and be very proud. You should look at us and say, wow, you guys are amazing. You guys are doing so much, so much. Every single one of you, you're doing so much. And sometimes I think we just have to stop and really say, yes, we are. We are very special people. We are very powerful people. We women. We're the women that redeemed the Jews from Egypt. We came back one more time. And we're doing a lot of good things. And we're really sincere and we're really trying. We're imperfect and flawed because God, you made us human. If you didn't want us to be imperfect and flawed, you could have made them more angels. You made us human, so we're imperfect and we're flawed. But we're really doing a lot. We're really doing a lot. And God, we know we've done our part and we know you're doing your part. And maybe that can be the energy, one of the many, 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 many ideas that you could take on this very, very, very holy day. You know, 120, this is the Rebbe's 120th birthday. And 120 is the Jewish number of absolute perfection. Like the ultimate life, 120 years. Like we say, this is 120 till 120. You know, that was Moses's years were 120. So 120 symbolizes absolute perfection. I mean, 100 sounds pretty perfect, but 120 is the absolute perfection. That's like my daughter was saying, like, so where do we go from here once we're already at 120? But maybe it's like, Hashem, we've done it. We've done the work. We've been in the trenches, maybe not for 120 years, but for a long, long, long time. We work the work, we walk the walk, we do what you're asking with imperfections, but we keep doing it. You've got a world of people that are serving you. And you know what? We're like at the end of the Seder. Hashem, we did our part. 120, completion, perfection. We did our part. And we know, Hashem, that you're going to do yours. And that's what I was thinking. You know, of course, on Yud Nissen, you can always think of what you should add. And of course, I also, like Sarah said, she added. I also tried to think of things I could add. But sometimes I think more than adding, it's stopping and appreciating who and what we are. Because one of those really basic evil inclination strategies is to make us feel very small, to make us feel very unimportant, very little, very powerless. And that's a strategy of the evil inclination because it works. When we feel that way, guess what? We don't do that much. We don't accomplish what we're capable of. And when we stop and say, we are huge. We are so big. We have so much power and we are doing so much. And a lot of times we're doing like little things and we don't realize, like Sarah's example today. Okay. What happened? Who knows what happened? Who knows what worlds are being turned over now in that woman? And so many times we have no clue of the end of the story. But there's a lot that happens from every one of those little encounters. I had 2 personal experiences in giving people, non-Jews, cards to picture of the Rebbe and thought about the redemption. And very unusually, I happened to have an encounter afterwards with both of those random strangers, so to speak. And in both of them, there was so strongly the message of how strongly they were affected and touched by that card. So for me, it was a little act. I don't know. I handed a card and I probably was thinking about other things, and maybe I said a stock line and moved on. And this changed another person's whole world. Why? Because who am I? What am I? Because enormous power of Hashem courses through us. That's sort of like what Lisa was saying before, that she was like shaking, goosebumps, overwhelmed by that experience, that she really felt she was a vehicle for the divine. And we all are so many times, but we don't realize. And the humility in that is like, wow, God, thank you. That wasn't me, that was you. Thank you that you're choosing me for your energy to go through and affect someone else in this world, affect me in this world. Thank you. So I think we need to, on this very special day, stop making ourselves small. Stop not believing in ourselves. Stop not realizing how powerful we are. Every one of us is a piece of God. Every one of us is God's only child. Every one of us is a very old soul, as we happened to mention before, that's been here many, many times, and good lasts forever. So we're all supercharged, super powerful souls. And stop and really internalize that message. I am so huge. And when you internalize that message, you can go forth with a smile. And again, sometimes it's very interesting. Like, we do things all the time and we don't really think we're doing anything. This little personal, again, not very glamorous, little story happened today. Not even a story. Like 2 weeks ago, I think, in one of my other classes, I had spoken about pre-Passover prep and how it's a really great time to, clean the inside as well as the outside. And I gave a few different techniques to do so. One of them I said was, why don't you make like a family resolution? Because then you're all in it together and you all remind yourself and, the family spirit, whatever. So I decided I was going to do that because I can't tell someone else to do it and not do anything. So from the 3 strategies, I decided I was going for that one. Do a little inner cleaning. Not too much outer cleaning, at least do a little inner cleaning. So like 2 weeks ago on Saturday night, I said to my children, I had a few more children home than usual because of Passover. And I'm like, okay, guys, we're going to make a family resolution. Of course, that's what everyone's like waiting to hear. Oh, Ma. And I'm like, no, this one you're going to like. And this was a family resolution. I decided, because I thought this is a very appropriate resolution before Passover. I said, this Passover, stress-free environment. No stress. Stress is worshiping evil. It's all God. No stress. Okay. That was the extent of it. We didn't speak it out since one word. Not like I had envisioned in my class. Whatever. I was remembering in the back of my head, but like somehow it never came up in the conversation. So today in the car, in our I don't even think it was part of our Yudalfnism for Brainian, it just somehow came up. And one of my children was like, since we made that resolution, I really have not stressed. And then another one of my children sort of said something similar. And I was like thinking, wow, I didn't know they were taking me even a drop seriously. I didn't know anyone was even remembering it. It happened 2 weeks ago and no one seems to have remembered it since, but they are. And they're thinking about it. And they're doing some inner stuff maybe because of it. I didn't even realize. And that's like the story of our life. Like so many times we do so much for ourselves to help ourselves grow with other people in our world, changing the world, changing ourselves. And we don't really see that anything very spectacular is going on. It's not going to get written up in the papers this time. But we don't know. We don't know. And I think it's a wonderful suggestion for anyone looking for a suggestion. You don't have to take this, but if you're looking for a suggestion, beautiful, stressless growth is to stop and find some time every day to remind yourself that you're very big, very powerful. You're a Jew. You're connected to the Lubavitcher Rebbe. You have God's strength. You have the Rebbe's strength. The Rebbe says every single Jew in this world is his emissary. So every single Jew has the Rebbe's strength whenever he wants to open up to it We are so powerful. And if we do or don't see the rest of the story, and we merit or don't merit to see what's being accomplished, we should still laugh at our evil inclination and say, what, you think you're going to fool me? You think you're going to make me feel small? You think I don't know these are techniques they taught you in evil inclination preschool? No, I'm a piece of God. I'm a Jew. I'm connected to the Lava Rebbe. I know what I'm doing is huge. And with that thought alone, I think we could turn over so many things in our lives and in the lives of people around us. So that was my Yud Aleph Nisan thought. Anyone would like to share something else that they've been thinking about?
I had
Okay, go ahead.
I had a similar thought today. I was on Mitzvayim, and I was thinking about how, if we think about like in our relationship with our spouse, right, or our kids, we want them to always think of us. And I was thinking, like, moment to moment, it's a connection to Hashem. You daven, and then you eat, and you make a bracha, and then you go on Mitzvayim, and you buy something at the store. And even the buying of the thing is like, Hashem, is this for me to elevate? Do you want me to get this? It's like, even when that's what I was thinking to myself, even when it was like difficult with the airplane and all these things happens, not that I would want that to happen again, but like moment to moment was with Hashem. It's like, okay, Hashem, do you want me to get my bags? Okay, Hashem, do you want me to get there? Do you want us to get home? Like, like, and I was seeing that on the site yeah, it's like that, but that like moment to moment connection, because when we connect, we're connecting to, this is how I was thinking of it today, is like we tap into that infinite power of our soul and Hashem, and with that, like that power together is like, wow. And I just feel like, and it's such a magnet too on Mitzvayim, because then it's like, I just felt like everything I have, I could give out. I always like go back, go out empty handed, which is so nice, such a good feeling that Hashem used me to get to do that. So I kind of had that similar thought, but it was more of like that play by play, moment to moment, tapping in.
Sure. And we want it to happen with ease and without stress, because I still remember your story very strongly.
Yeah.
And it was a very intense story, even just to hear. And it was very beautiful how you transcended the whole story. But Hashem, we don't need those stories. We want to live with you moment to moment as we graciously, with ease, relax, bring in Passover, and just feel the Malchus nobility energy in our homes, stress-free, because we're such powerful, huge souls, that as we're doing whatever we're doing, just this beautiful energy is coming through our lives and our homes. And then we feel Hashem, we feel it. And that's
I was just going to share also that what you said about, that we're trying. I wrote in today by Hachlata, like, all connected with Geula, because everything right now is just bringing the world to its place. We're like on the finish line. So whatever Hachlatas I made, but I just wrote to the Rebbe, we're really trying, Rebbe. We're really trying. So I kind of resonated when you said, like, we're really trying. Like, that's exactly how I was feeling. So I thought I was in agreement.
In agreement. I think so. I think so. And I think it's like, like sometimes, again, it's so easy to feel small and to feel, oh, so-and-so or whoever, someone out there is doing all these big, huge, massive things. And that's beautiful. But then it sort of make you feel like, and what am I doing? And it's like, I'm really trying. Every one of us is really trying to bring redemption. Each one of us in our own corner, in our own world, with the people we interact with, we are trying. And it's 120. That means it's like completion. That means the world has been trying long enough. And I'm glad you took the time and you wrote that and you expressed it. And I'm sure when you wrote it with such sincerity, the answer was amen. Absolutely. That is the truth. And that is Hashem's truth. And we should know. I just felt we should know. And again, it's not like a cop out of a resolution to just remember how big you are, because I think it's actually a very empowering thought that will, in a stressless way, help us move more and more. Because if I really recognize how big I am, I really recognize how huge are my actions, I really recognize how huge is my power, I'm going to want to flex my muscles more and do more because I have so much power. As versus feeling small and shrunken and therefore not doing, because what's the point anyway? Never seems to work out anyway. I never seem to accomplish and turn over these worlds anyway. We really do. Sometimes it's good to stop and think of a time when you didn't think you really did anything, but then afterwards you found out you really did. And I'm sure we all have had experiences like that in our lives. We didn't think anything was happening, but something really was. And it's good to sometimes just remember those moments, so we can like have them in our back pocket for when we're feeling, why bother, small, insignificant, not really doing anything anyway. And be like, no, remember those times, remember that time, remember that time. You also felt that way with somebody, you did something, and look, not because of you. Like you said, it's not us. Thank you, Hashem, that you're allowing your power to flow through us. But every single one of us can have that power. Every single Jew, when they want, can have that power, that it's Hashem's power that flows through us. So it's good to remember that when you're reciting. It's good to remember that when you're in your kitchen, wherever stage of the game you're at, we all need to remember it's not us. It's a bigger power flowing through us. And therefore we can do it with joy and with light and with ease. With ease, because it's Hashem's energy, and that's very, very powerful energy. So we should have the redemption, as we said, Tuesday night. Hashem, you can pull it together. We will not complain if we're eating a lamb by the Seder. We will be very grateful that you agreed with what Firma said and with what I'm sure countless Jews said today and many other days. And especially, I'm sure many, many Jews said it today. Hashem, we've done. And now you're going to do. We know you're doing your part. We know every crazy thing going on in our lives and going on in our world and going on in the world. It's just, this is it. This is a finish line. So we look forward to Yerushalayim, real deal, which still doesn't mean we're going to have our class. It might look a little different, but we'll be very grateful to be having our class, Zoom or in person, so somewhere in Yerushalayim. We can still continue serving Hashem and learning His holy words with the complete revelation of Mashiach. Thank you so much for joining. We should have a kosher and joyous Passover, completely kosher. That's a blessing, and completely joyous, and just knowing we're in the best space. We're so blessed. There's how many people in the world know God this way and can live with God this way. And thank you for that blessing. Thank you for that blessing of having the Rebbe in our lives. Thank you for that blessing of having Hashem, God, in our lives, and that you chose us to be the person that has that. Very, very, very blessed. Thank you for joining. The rest
Amen.
of the week should
Thank
go
you.
smooth, and you should really feel and see,
Amen.
like Yehuda said, minute by minute, we're just living with Hashem every minute. Thank you for joining.
Thank you.
Thank you.